Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, April 11th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Texas game in 141 days, the game against Michigan in 232 days. If you're planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at GratefulGriddleOH.com. We will be back inside the Horseshoe on Friday morning for the final pre-spring game practice. The Buckeyes will be working out in front of the Ohio High School Coaches Association. Obviously, a very, very big turnout of high school coaches. And then Ryan Day and his coaching staff will put on their coaches clinic a little later on in the day. And that's a traditional pre-spring game thing. It's going to be a very busy weekend inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center between recruiting visits and the coaches clinic and all that stuff. We'll have plenty of coverage of all of that for you. I'll have that Friday morning for you coming from the Horseshoe. We'll have an instant reaction show, just sort of talking about what we saw there. And then, of course, Saturday is the spring game. Plenty of coverage all day long there as well. So lots coming up in the next couple days. But before we get to all that, I wanted to let you hear one more time from new defensive coordinator Matt Patricia. He's been one of the big stories of the spring. His hiring in and of itself was kind of a big story, and then he's sort of bringing what is he bringing that's new? What is he bringing that's going to be sort of maintaining some status quo from the Jim Knowles years. We'll be talking about all that kind of stuff. Let you hear directly from Matt Patricia. He had some very interesting stuff to say this week. But before we get into all that, just what is Matt Patricia looking for from the defense during the spring game on Saturday?
I'm looking for a lot of things, actually. I'm pretty excited. Let's get in the shoe. Let's get the fans there. Let's feel the environment, the energy. Just getting a little bit of that last Saturday with everybody kind of in the indoor, that excitement. I think that's fun. We're getting that feel for it. So I'm excited to see the fans. I'm excited to get the crowd. I think one of the things defensively, you're always trying to, practice in these situations, communication, right? So it's always going to be hard at home for us to communicate because our fans are great and it's going to be loud for the opponent, which is what we want. So our communication has to be on point. Our recognition has to be on point. I think, this is obviously new for me, not having in a while, having preseason games, right? So the next time we go in that stadium to play, it's for real. So just our overall operation, coaching staff, to make sure we're communicating well, make sure we're getting substitutions and personnel groups and all of that, this is a good opportunity for us to get a dry run at that before, we get to that first game. So that's really important. And then, of course, we want to see everybody compete, the different positions and the different opportunities that everybody has to go out and, we'll get a chance to look at that tape and get another evaluation of where they're at. So there's a lot. It's going to be great. I can't, let's go. It's going to be awesome.
When Patricia got to Ohio State, how much did he just sort of look at Caleb Downs and just kind of start dreaming about all the different things you could do with a player that intelligent and that talented? And then how about someone like Jermaine Matthews? Because we've seen them moving him around quite a bit as well from outside and then also in the slot this spring.
When you have pieces like Caleb and guys that football knowledge that he has and his instincts, and it's been great the more that he's kind of been out there to really watch him on the field and how he moves, how he deciphers the game and how he sees it. You love those type of players for sure, and being able to relate that to some things that we can do with him and put him in those positions is it's fun. It's fun. He's dynamic now. This guy he's smart. He plays extremely aggressive. He really knows the offense well, so based on whether it's formation or split, he's IDing everything and he does a great job of communicating on the field. So he's been a lot of fun for sure. Jermaine, super competitive guy, a guy who's got great ability, speed, quickness, and then that position flex to be able to go outside, inside, and some of the things that we do coverage-wise where these guys are actually playing in a couple of different positions, just based on formation and motions and things like that. It's been pretty impressive, with his skill set to be able to do all that. So it's been fun. That group is a lot of fun. They are dynamic. They have a lot of talent. They are competitive as all get out. And it's fun because, I don't think I've ever seen wide receivers this big, all as a group. It's every time I'm can you rush? How big? These guys are ginormous. I think they're edge setters, but to have that competition every single day and to be able to go out there and watch our guys step up to that challenge is pretty awesome.
Patricia has a somewhat unique experience in terms of winning championships. He's won 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots as an assistant coach under Bill Belichick. So this is not a brand new thing for him in terms of, okay, now you've won the championship one year. Now you got to go do it another year. So he was asked about the response from the Ohio State players, and Caleb Downs in particular, asking the coaching staff to take down some of the championship banners and the other stuff that was sort of hanging around the facility.
I think it's a really mature approach by them, right? I think it's something that was. I think one of the great things about football, whatever level you're at, it's different than other sports. It's different than boxing. Like when you win a championship in boxing, the next time you step in the ring, you step in as the champ and you have to defend your title. When you win a championship in football, the next time you step on the field, it's something new. It's a new season. It's a new team. You have to start over. You're not defending anything. What you won, you won. Like that can't be taken away from you. That was last season. So I think it's a really mature approach by them for, to sit there and say, hey, look, it's about going forward. We can't look back. It's about going forward. It's about building the journey this year to try to get back to where we want to be. But you have to start all over again, and you got to start at the bottom. So that's a great mentality.
Another one kind of dealing with Caleb Downs. Downs has not played a ton this spring. He's been sort of limited and had plenty of time on the field. He took the most snaps of anyone on the Ohio State team last year, so you knew it was going to be sort of a light spring for him. But what that has done is that has opened up playing time for Malik Hartford and Jalen McClain, two guys who are fighting to be the guy who plays next to Caleb Downs during the season. So what has Matt Patricia seen from that competition between Malik Hartford, Jalen McClain for that starting safety spot opposite Caleb Downs?
I think it's been really good with both those guys learning and competing and playing a couple different roles, a couple different spots. And Caleb is out there for some things, and there's other things that we're holding them back on. So they've actually had an opportunity to both be out there quite a bit and really to be able to evaluate the different things that they can do skill set wise. I think there's some different packages that we can run with those guys on the field and different alignments that they could be in. So it's just a great evaluation right now of seeing, some deep field play, some down in the box play, some maybe man-to-man coverage stuff with them. We've got some different things in like that intermediate zone where they're kind of reading routes and breaking. And I would say both are really shining and showing their skill sets that we can utilize them in those situations.
Another young player who's come on very strong this spring is Peyton Pierce, second-year linebacker out of Texas. He was very, very impressive when we got a chance to watch the student appreciation practice last weekend. And seems like Matt Patricia is pretty impressed with him as well. So what does Matt Patricia like about Peyton Pierce?
One thing about Peyton Pierce right away, like we go to inside drill or anything, like everyone's going to feel Peyton Pierce right away. He comes downhill with a physicality it's phenomenal. Like he is a physical player. I think one of the other things on top of that, so he's doing a great job with all that. But to build on that, his communication, his command, linebacker, you have to be able to get in there, call the huddle, make sure we get adjustments right, get the front correct, communicate with the back end. And I think that's the piece of it right now for me that's really improved through the spring is just his overall command, understanding of the defense, and then his communication to get everybody, kind of set and lined up and ready to go. It's been good.
Patricia has coached in college before, but it's been a couple decades. So this has been very different for a guy who's used to the NFL and where a guy gets hurt or a guy you maybe think, hey, we need to supplement the roster. Just bring in a guy on waivers. You can do that anytime you want. Just, bring someone in on waivers and, in any week you want to do it, you can do it. So now after the transfer portal window closes following the spring, that's it. You kind of got what you got. So how much of a challenge does that present?
I think you always want to develop players. I think that's the best thing to do within a system is to try to, you want to groom them, you want to grow them, you want to increase their skill set and their fundamentals because, those are the guys you're working with every single day. And it is similar. There's only certain times of the year, even in the NFL, where you can actually add to your roster. So you're going to get to points where your roster is what it is. And I think the guys that have been able to show also position flexibility, so whether they can move out to different techniques, whether it's a 5 to a 3 or a 3 to a shade back out to a 3, those are the guys then that's where your depth comes. So maybe you're a guy that's maybe a backup nose guard that, you'd rather have him out there and then move the other guy out to a 3 technique. So it's really kind of that structure of where those guys can go. But I think you're always trying to develop, always trying to bring those guys along. And, it's like I tell them, just prove us right. Like, that's why you're here. We believe in you. Like, we know you can go do it. So we're going to do everything we can to help you, achieve everything you want to. And that's going to be the best for the team. So, I think those guys are working really hard. Coach Johnson does a great job. I mean, all the drill work. If you get a chance to watch Coach Jay do his drill work, it's the detail of the hand placement and the footwork and the, just the coaching points that he puts them through. Those guys they're blessed to be in that situation to get all of that information. And then those guys that just continually build on that and grow, as a player, you can really see that, you can see why those guys develop every single year.
One of the areas where there's certainly been some speculation the Buckeyes may be dipping into the transfer portal after the spring is the defensive line, especially the depth and the interior of that defensive line. So with that being maybe one of the biggest concerns on the team right now, where has Matt Patricia seen the most growth from the defensive line this spring?
I think the guys have done a really good job with the multiplicity of some of the things that we're doing right now, and moving around and kind of being in some different spots just to kind of get an evaluation of it, to see if we can have some of that depth and put them in those alignments. So I think that's been pretty impressive. I think our pad level has gotten better. I think that's one of the things when you start out and you're back in practice and you're rolling, and it's the beauty of spring ball. We have equipment on, so you actually get to evaluate this stuff and not have to wait till training camp, which is awesome. So we've made strides there, hand placement, pad level, which is, leverage up front, which is what we're going to need. So that would be the biggest area I've really seen, like, guys just kind of really getting better technique.
As we mentioned earlier, it has been something of a light spring for Caleb Downs. He's been out there a little bit, but really kind of taking it easy for the most part. So how much of an opportunity has that presented for guys like Malik Hartford and Jalen McClain and even Leroy Roker?
I think there's always opportunity when guys aren't on the field, and certainly you want Caleb on the field. He's really good and kind of helps settle the communication. He's a great player. But look, when guys aren't on the field, it's an opportunity for someone else to go in and step into some different roles and have an opportunity to go make some plays and flash, for the coaches and for their teammates. I think all of those guys, that you mentioned have done that, and have done it at different points. And now it's just building on the consistency of that, whereas you have a player like Caleb that has proven that he can consistently show that kind of production and that performance. Those other guys are now having those reps to be able to have enough, built up to show that, hey, they can do it consistently and be in the right positions and make the communication and make the plays. So that's been the best part about it for those guys, just having all of those reps. And, again, I say this one too, we only have so many games, so you have to get better at practice. It's just what it is. It's different than, like I said, baseball, you play games to get better. Football, we got to practice to get better. And I think having those guys to be able to have those reps has been invaluable.
And finally, Patricia was asked, just in terms of the base defense for this year, is the 4-2-5, did that look, the 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 guys in the secondary, is that the best base for his defense based on what he's seen so far? Or is he looking at losing maybe more 3 linebacker looks than they have in the past? What are his thoughts on that?
I think, 4-2-5 or the nickel sets, and the variations of those nickel sets are just so prominent in football right now because there's so much 11 personnel. And then the 12 personnel, which is the 2 tight end sets that play like 11 or the open up formation. So you got to be a little bit multiple to be able to do all of that. But, when you got to get in base and get into, 3 linebackers or some version of that, you have to be able to stop the run. And certainly that, I think, also picks up critical situations, whether it's third down, low red area, or you're just getting bigger offensive personnel groups out there. So having all of that is important. Being able to be multiple out of the nickel packages is something I think that's really important too. And then there's different variations of those nickel packages that, with as much talent and which is much the guys that we have in that room, I think we can do some of that and be versatile that way, which would be great.
Well, we will be back at Ohio Stadium Friday morning, get a chance to watch that final pre-spring game practice, have an instant reaction show for you following that, and then Saturday all day long, all you've come to expect, pregame, postgame, photos, videos, all that good stuff, that is all coming to you on Saturday from the Ohio State spring game. Be a lovely day. Forecast still looks like it's looking pretty good for Saturday. So if you are out there, make sure you come say hi. And if you're not, well, make sure you come say hi to us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That's where Tony, Kevin, and I cover the team. Mark covers recruiting. We got our whole team of X's and O's gurus there as well, all to make you a smarter football fan. That is all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.